Have you set goals for yourself, then discovered you cannot maintain them because of the routine change? Did you set a goal for yourself to reach within a certain time frame, then found yourself burned out, then blamed yourself because you weren't able to reach your goal? Charlotte Batchelor will join me in segments 2, 3, and 4 to share her story of setting goals for herself. Charlotte will offer you advice to meet your autistic goals that fit your needs in a way that meets you where you are. Welcome to the episode Autistic Goal Setting on today's Autistic Moment.
Forever, so let yourself shine. Every time you feel you're down on yourself, look inside, you'll find you got what it takes. Yeah, I can tell you can make it, you can reach the top. Here's your chance, just take it. The ones with
Today is your day on today's Autistic Moment, a podcast for autistic adults by an autistic adult, where autistic adults are distinguished by using our voices and special qualities to inform and celebrate neurodiversity. Leave the stress of the dominant neurotypical culture behind for a while and be proud of who you are. This first segment of today's Autistic Moment is sponsored by the Autism Society of Minnesota, known as AWESOME throughout Minnesota's autism community. As Minnesota's first autism resource for more than 50 years, AWESOME serves the whole state, the whole spectrum for the whole life. Visit AWESOME at ausm.org. Please visit todaysautisticmoment.com, where you can listen to more than 100 shows, get transcripts, program updates, and read the guest bios pages. You can also visit the Adult Autism Resources Links page. Please visit the Future Shows page to read the titles, guests, and descriptions of all the shows in 2025. The transcripts are sponsored by Minnesota Independence College and Community. There is a link provided to get access to a document form of the transcript without the purple-colored background so that you can print it without using up the ink on your printer. The written document has a font that is accessible for dyslexics. There are additional transcripts available in Spanish, German, French, and Chinese simplified. Please follow Today's Autistic Moment on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Blue Sky. If you follow Today's Autistic Moment on Instagram, please follow us on Threads. Join Today's Autistic Moment community group page on Facebook for conversations and updates. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel at Today's Autistic Moment to watch Autistic Voices Roundtable discussions. I want to direct your attention to an episode of Autistic Voices Roundtable discussions that occurred 3 years ago. The dangers of medical myths. The panelists talked about the myths about vaccines causing autism and that pregnant women who have taken acetaminophen risk giving birth to autistic children and ADHD children. They are all fruits of the same poisonous tree, a lack of credible information about autistic people. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been in the news again, supporting these medical myths, suggesting that they are the cause of the, quote, autism epidemic, end of quote. There is no credible research to back up these claims. It is important to get your facts about autistic people from the experts, autistic individuals. Go to the YouTube channel at Today's Autistic Moment to watch Autistic Voices Roundtable discussions, The Dangers of Medical Myths. Get your facts from the people who are most affected by these myths. Don't just talk about autistic people. Listen to autistics tell you what we have to say. After this first commercial break, we will welcome Charlotte Batchelor to talk about autistic goal setting. Today's Autistic Moment can be downloaded and heard on most podcast apps, including Apple, Google Play, Breaker, Castbox, Overcast, iHeartRadio, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, TuneIn, Pandora, Amazon Music, Audible, Podcast Addict, Podcast Chaser. If you are looking for the transcripts, go to todaysautisticmoment.com, click on the episode you want to listen to, and follow the directions to find the transcripts. Thank you for listening to Today's Autistic Moment.
Does it feel like all your support systems are in separate silos? Does it seem like there are mixed messages and you don't know which way to turn? Being part of a system is hard. It would be helpful to have the tools in your life toolbox to help navigate those silos. Looking Forward Life Coaching can provide support to fill that toolbox to prepare you to bridge those silos. Being person-centered, Looking Forward Life Coaching equips an individual to advocate for their needs. With coaching one-on-one, bridging the gap between the silos of services, you can feel more confident that your needs and desires are met. If you would like more information or would like to schedule a free meet and greet, please visit our website at www.lookingforwardlc.org or call us at 612-504-7414. Looking Forward Life Coaching helps change stumbling blocks of life into stepping stones towards success.
Autistic adults aren't getting the support we need. It affects our health, our income, financial stability, and our ability to live independently. ITI Assistive Technologies is changing that. This autistic-led team has created Decide with tools built for neurodivergent minds. One lets users quickly pick from custom lists based on their energy level. The other guides them through big decisions using simple agree-disagree statements that match their values. Visit itiassist.com/decide for more information about downloading the app to get all features for just $5 a month. Charlotte Batchelor is a late diagnosed autistic ADHD writer and speaker from Detroit, Michigan. Charlotte began documenting her diagnostic journey as a student at Michigan State University, where she earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in professional and public writing with a minor in African American and African Studies. Charlotte's work focuses on uplifting the experiences of Black disabled women and girls. Additionally, Charlotte completed the Disability Empower Expressions Group and is a long-term trainee with the MI Lend program. Through Charlotte's powerful storytelling, she shares her unique perspectives to illuminate underrepresented stories and experiences. Please join me now as I welcome Charlotte Batchelor to today's Autistic Moment. Charlotte Batchelor, it is my privilege to welcome you to today's Autistic Moment, and this is your first time with us today, so thank you so much for taking time from your busy schedule to spend time with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Well, this is quite a great topic as we're starting the fall and into the fall season, that sort of thing. And I think it's a great idea to talk about some goal setting. That's what we've gotten together to talk about. Setting goals, and in particular, goals in a year at a time when there's so much happening around autistic people and many, many intersectional communities, many of whom are underrepresented. Let's build a foundation for our conversation today. You know, what does goal setting mean for autistic adults to be multidimensional?
Yeah, so I think so. Just a little bit about myself. My name is Charlotte Batchelor again. I am a late diagnosed autistic adult. I have ADHD, I have bipolar 2, and a couple other diagnoses. I did not come into my disabilities, or my disabilities didn't really make themselves present until I was 18. I was diagnosed with bipolar 2 at 18 in the middle of my freshman year at Michigan State University, and I kind of had to step away from school, move back home, and really reanalyze what I wanted my life to be and what goals would be possible for me, because I'm dealing with this new diagnosis. I'm dealing with these, emotions and feelings that are, exasperated by the condition, and also dealing with a little bit of burnout and all of those sorts of things that come with a big life transition. So I think if I could go back and tell my 18-year-old self something, it would be, it's okay to have goals, but it's important to be flexible about them. as long as you accomplish them, how you get there isn't as important as reaching the destination, in my opinion. So I decided after that experience that I wanted to be a self advocate. So I started working with disability rights organizations here in Michigan. I got on social media, started sharing my story, started writing for different publications, and that kind of got me where I am today. I'm the type of person that loves a framework or a kind of guideline, being an autistic person. I don't want to say I always deal in absolutes, but I need sometimes to make things less abstract, very clear and obvious of how are we going to finish this project or how am I going to get there. So goal setting has always been important to me for big things, for small things. On the small end, it could be like, okay, I this year said I wanted to travel and I went on 7 different trips this year. Goal accomplished. I didn't have a set number in mind, but I said, okay, I want to travel for work. So I got to go to Autism in Black conference. I want to travel, visited a friend for her birthday. I wanted time to spend it with my family, went on a cruise. So goals can be something like that. It could be, you know, building a skill set. Like I want to take my supplements every day, or I want to go to bed at a certain time because I know when I go to bed at a certain time, I feel better and my mind works better and I'm not burnt out and anxious and irritable. So I think goal setting is important because not to say we'll be perfect people, but there are always ways as adults we could improve. And especially as you move into your late 20s and out of your 20s, the goals you have at 18 might be different than the goals you have at 25 when your life circumstances are different. You could be having a partner, you could be dealing with changes in your living situation or your family. So I think it's kind of nice to use flexible goals as a way to acknowledge the progress that we've made and where we want to go. And I also think that it's important for us to keep goals or keep striving for things, especially in the times we live in now, to kind of give ourselves something to anchor onto and to give us that little bit of hope when things seem challenging or pressure just seems so insurmountable.
I'm interested to know what your thoughts are about setting goals and dealing with your routine changes that are often inside those goals. Because we know a lot of autistics that change of routine is a real challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, sometimes we get into that routine and then we fall back, which I think is, we just need some grace to exercise there. And then there are those things that happen in life that are just plain old not expected, that change our goals and change our routines. Do you have anything to add, to talk about with those kinds of things?
I think for the expected changes, so I'll call these cyclical changes. So let's say you're a college student or you're someone like me that works in higher education. I know between the months of May and July, my work schedule is going to be much shorter. I'm going to be taking a lot of time off. I have a lot of flexibility. But once September hits and Labor Day comes, I know, okay, I have to switch back into focus mood. I have this meeting, I have that meeting, I'm on this committee. So I think when possible, using that pattern recognition and understanding certain times of year, certain seasons, maybe there might be routines I need to bring back up. And it could be as simple as, okay, I'm back in school or back in work or whatever you have going on, and just writing them out and understanding what does my day-to-day look like and what do I need to do to have a successful or good day. It can be as small as what time you get up, brushing your teeth, what you eat for breakfast, what are you going to eat for dinner, when are you going to do chores or have self-care time. So I think with those goals, I can say, okay, for me, I'm in a I'm a Michigan Lynn long-term trainee right now, and I can say I want to spend less time on social media and more time focused on my studies and meeting my curriculum hours. So in order to achieve that goal, I'm going to take Instagram off of my home screen and really try to limit Instagram just for use to do my advocacy work or for work because I work in marketing. So identifying those patterns is important. But then I also think that I think they say it takes like 3 weeks to build a good habit. So recognize the streaks, even if you make it 4 days in a row and maybe you fall off the wagon. That doesn't mean you failed at the routine. It just means you're human and you are exercising that change muscle, and change can be hard to adapt to. Now, to get to your second point about unexpected change, I think that it can take a little bit longer, and the what's what I'm looking for. With unexpected change, you can't just immediately, okay, I'm going to be in my notes app. I type in a new routine, and it's just going to be like, boom, I'm in this new routine. It's making everything feel better.
Especially
Depending on
since
what,
since those changes often knock you off those goals,
yeah,
and you feel
yeah,
and there's a tendency to feel like we failed something when that's not what's happened at all. Go ahead, continue.
yeah. So, for example, in 2024, I ended up leaving my job, and I said, okay, this is the job I've had since I've graduated college, good money, good benefits. I'm going to look for another job. Now, if you know, or the audience knows anything about the state of finding full-time gainful employment, it's kind of a hot mess express right now. So what went to, oh, I'm just going to be out of work for a month, turned into 6 months. And not really having the structure of, this is what I do during my workday. I know from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., most of the days I was, caught up with the day-to-day task of work. So now, presented with all of this free and unstructured time, I had to kind of relearn, okay, the first month I took, just because I was in severe autistic burnout because of this job, I had to take just to decompress, just to come back to my body, just to know what it feels like to live and exist without all of this like pressure and all of this, intense anxiety. And then probably about month two, I said, okay, I have a freelance writing client now. So let me build a schedule around writing. And that's also get into a schedule of looking for work, but not obsessing over it to the point where I feel burnout. Let's maybe do 3 applications a day or 4 applications a day. And now let's add in time to do creative projects, or to talk to a family member, or to talk to my therapist about the change, or to network. So I think in that, it was, I thought I was going to be in that job a lot longer, and it just was not a good fit for me and my disabilities. So I think in that unexpected change, sometimes you don't know how long this change is going to last. It could be permanent, like, oh, my partner got a new job out of state, so now I'm moving halfway across the country. Or
Right.
it could be temporary. So I think you can set goals, and goals don't have to be like on a 5-year plan. Like people think 3, 5, 10-year plan. You can make a goal just for that week. Like, this is how I'm going to survive this week, and then maybe look out a little bit longer. And also just course correcting, because a lot of times everyone goes through change. That is the one certainty about life, is that there is uncertainty.
Mm.
So, you know, learning to kind of build small routines, or keep up the smallest pieces of self-care, are really important during times like that. And it's where I found, like, hey, I like creating Instagram content. People care about what I have to say. People like that I'm sharing my stories, and I'm not so alone in the world. So when you can lean into those more positive coping mechanisms during those times, and just try and remember those when the next unexpected change comes, I think that's super important too.
Yeah, and sometimes your goal setting can be just the goals you set for a single day. I mean, sometimes you really do have to do that.
Hmm.
Based on, let's say you found yourself with a cold, then your goals are going to change that day, because a first priority is to look after your health at that point, and that sort of thing, which can be very hard. And I am somebody who has a physical disability, and I've got like a goal for things I might do in a single day that and sometimes those goals are going to be, it's going to be necessary to cut a little here, but add a little there, that sort of
Hmm.
thing. So, how do you measure routine, or let me try this again. How do we measure keeping something and letting go of another? And if you need an example, please ask.
Okay, yeah. So kind of like seeing the efficacy of your routine and when to kind of change things up, I think that's also deeply personal. And like you said, depending on the day, I'm also someone with chronic illnesses. So the goals I have set on a day where I'm not having a POTS flare up or I'm not having a 4-day migraine episode are very different on a day like today where the sun is shining, I'm feeling good, I'm fresh off a Labor Day weekend. I feel like I can be a little bit more, I can add more on my plate today to kind of lessen the burden later on.
Hmm.
And I think it's just like it's strategically knowing how to meet your daily support needs or your access needs as they come every day. So I'll use the example for my full-time job. I have a full-time job that has a very generous work from home policy. So some days I need to go in the office. I need both of my monitors. I need my whiteboard, or maybe it's a collaborative project and I need that face-to-face communication and not an endless email stream. Or other days are like, hey, I'm feeling a little under the weather. I don't necessarily need to call off, but if I were to get dressed, go all the way downtown, fight with traffic, that would be more of a detriment to me, like getting work done. So some days I say, okay, the trade-off for today is I'm going to work from home so that if I'm not feeling good, I can pause, take that breather, and be in the comfort of my own home versus being in an office and being uncomfortable, not feeling myself, maybe getting someone else sick. So with that, I think it's important. And again, no one's going to get mad at me if I'm not coming into the office. That's just a me thing. I have to, I'm not going to make myself feel ashamed because I needed a day to myself because I woke up with a migraine or a sinus infection, or I'm having a flare up and don't want to risk having to, leave the house and accidentally have a fall or something like that. So I think it's just important that that flexibility has to be kind of inherent in the goal setting and deciding that not everything is a one-to-one situation. Sometimes there are those shades of gray, or there are those exceptions to the rule where you will have to cater to yourself. So for example, like if you're like me, I'm a writer. You might spend racking your brain. You might spend all day working on a writing project and get nowhere and think, oh, if I just stay up for 2 more hours, I want to meet my goal of writing 300 words today. So I'm just going to force myself to stay up past midnight and write. Well, more than likely, you didn't get anything done. You don't feel good about yourself and you feel irritable. So in that case, it's kind of knowing when to kind of put the brakes on, or knowing when to stop and knowing when to pivot, I also think are, important aspects in the goal setting, especially when, your energy levels or how much you're able to give to a project or give to a certain task might be very dynamic and might shift day to day.
Can we give a little bit of some ideas for autistics who have just been informed? Were just identified, and which means whatever goals they may have set before, they just don't exist anymore. Basically, there's a process that we go through after we've been informed, or after we've been identified, diagnosed, whichever word you use. But there is a process that goes on, and I'm going to start with the fact that when you just heard that you're autistic, you're going to go through a lot of emotions. You already know that. But there's also going to be a lot of getting to know yourself all over again, and getting to know your life all over again, the people you've known, that sort of thing. Setting, in the moments like that, when it's so difficult to set goals because of things that you don't really know, what are some pieces of advice you might give in that instance?
I think that's a really good question and a really good point. Because again, you might feel relieved, you might feel sad, you might feel grief for the child you were, or the lack of resources held to you, or how you were treated as a child. So I think the first goal or the first order of business is to give yourself room to feel those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And not to say, okay, I just got diagnosed. Now I need to sign up for 10 different podcasts, 9 support groups. I need to find a new therapist. I need to do all of those things. I think being present in that moment and just taking it all in is important. And then deciding, what do you want to do with this diagnosis now? Because no one can tell you what to do with it except yourself. They're not going to put a article in the paper saying, hey, Joe Smith is autistic. Everybody look, here's his neuropsych eval results. Now, in my case, my practitioner did provide like, hey, you should continue seeing your therapist. I think talk therapy is helpful. Here are some young adult support groups in Michigan. Here are some other groups that do, volunteering work and connecting, young autistic adults. So it really depends on what kind of way you want to go towards. You might want to learn more about autism. So in that case, you can listen to podcasts like this, other podcasts, people on LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. You can do that. You can maybe spend time doing just journaling to yourself. What has worked for you in the past and what have you found out you struggle with? So if you're someone who has sensory sensitivities or sensory differences, you might find, okay, I need to invest in a good pair of noise canceling headphones, or I need a fidget that helps me focus that has a certain texture or lack of certain texture. If you're someone like me, I found out the second to last semester I was in college. I worked with, if you're in school or have access to this, I worked with an accessibility specialist at my school's resource center for persons with disabilities. And she kind of helped me find those goal setting in terms of not overextending, in terms of asking for clarification, and really the baseline level of advocacy I would need to finish out my classes at school and then be able to carry on in the workplace. So I think it's important for you to sit down and feel your feelings, but then make a list of what do you think would be most helpful, what has been most helpful in the past, and what you have found unhelpful, or maybe things you don't repeat, and you just apply it to any area of your life, of friendships, romantic partnerships, the workplace, education. And I think for me, hearing from other autistic voices, hearing from other, especially Black autistic women, has been very crucial in helping me identify and meet those needs I have, and being able to communicate them really without fear of judgment, and just more of a very matter of fact, this is what I need to make this space equitable for me to participate. So my needs can be met, or they're not going to get met, or I might have to go be friends with someone else or be in a different social group. But that really was kind of my baseline thinking, or thinking that I think would be helpful for other people. And there's no timeline on this discovery either. You can process for a month and then go look for resources, or you can get your diagnosis on a Wednesday, and by Monday morning you're already planning your self accommodations and things like that. So I think really understanding that it's a deeply personal process, and that, like anything with goal setting, there's trial and error. So just continuing to give yourself grace and the flexibility to change your mindset about things, or change how you approach accommodating yourself.
Right. Yeah. Those are excellent answers and suggestions. After this next commercial break, Charlotte will talk about how her race and disability have always created challenges with being accepted and respected, with advice of how you can set goals where you are in those situations, and tell you about the project she is engaged in for the Black autistic community. Support for today's Autistic Moment comes from Best Care Home Care Agency. Best Care offers PCA services, and your friend or family member could be your paid PCA. Best Care also offers homemaking, FMS services, and 2, 4, 5D services throughout the metro and greater Minnesota. Visit their website, bestcaremn.com, to learn more about their services.
MICC provides transformative education and training for autistic and neurodivergent adults to live independently, work purposefully, and thrive in community. With hands-on learning and caring guidance, MICC participants accomplish things they never imagined, from daily living tasks like taking public transportation or managing finances, to building and sustaining a career and lifelong friendships. Learn more about our inclusive community in Richfield, Minnesota at micc.org.
Are you looking for a space where you don't have to explain your autism to be seen, heard, or understood? We are the Autistic Peer Support Coaching Collective, the world's first autistic-led peer support coaching organization. In a world that pathologizes our differences, isolates us, and pushes toxic individualism, APSCC offers something radical: community, connection, and care. Our coaches are all autistic adults, trained professionals, supporting our fellow autistics with tools for advocacy, regulation, and everyday thriving. We know how hard it is right now. Stigma, burnout, misinformation, it's everywhere. But you don't have to face it alone. Peer support is not just helpful, it's necessary. Community is not a luxury, it's how we survive. Showing up in our full autistic selves with our stims, our sensitivities, and our joy is an act of resistance. In a world that tells us to hide or disappear, we choose to be visible together. You'll find one-on-one coaching, free support groups, educational workshops, and more, all rooted in the neurodiversity paradigm, built by autistics for autistics. Come be part of something real. Visit autisticcoaches.com. There is no greater assistance you can give right now to the autistic communities than supporting the podcast that is bringing the quality of conversations and guests to help autistics find and use their many strengths. Your contribution helps the podcast continue connecting and empowering autistic adults. Here are some ways you can support today's autistic moment. Make a one-time donation to the coffee icon, that's ko-fi icon, when you tap on Support Today's Autistic Moment on todaysautisticmoment.com. Subscribe monthly via Patreon. Purchase items at Today's Autistic Moments logo shop. Share Today's Autistic Moment with your family, friends, coworkers, and others through social media and or by telling others about us. Donations are not tax deductible, but help keep Today's Autistic Moment as a safe space. Thank you for supporting Today's Autistic Moment. I want us to turn to my second question. We know that autistics are engaging with goal setting, but earlier in this conversation, you brought up you are a Black autistic woman, that you are also bipolar, and did you say ADHD?
Yeah.
Okay. And so I have a great concern this year with what's happening for many of our intersectional communities. I am gay, and I am so very worried for our trans community. I can't say enough about that this year. And many of whom are autistic. And even so, I mean, we have these actions being taken around so many of our intersectional communities right now that are adding burdens, deeper burdens. In some cases, it's affecting jobs, it's affecting their overall life quality, whether they feel safe. Maybe you can talk a little bit about how the socio-political circumstances around our intersectional communities, how you have been dealing with that, with goal setting, and then maybe give some of our others maybe some ideas about some good goal setting with all this going on.
I think in my case, like I said, I'm a disabled Black woman. That pressure has always been there just because who I am. And when I show up in the room, my race is one of the most identifiable things about me. So it enters the room before me, before I have a chance to speak or share my story. So for me, I have felt that underlying pressure since I was a child. I don't want to say it's something you get used to, but it's something you quickly learn to work with, and quickly learn that I can't let the opinions of others about my gender, about my race, about my disability keep me from doing what I feel called to do, or keep me from like keep me from doing the work I was meant to do, or keep me from feeling the need to speak out. So for me, this year, I wanted more opportunities to work with organizations uplifting that Black disabled individuals. And that is something I've been able to check off my list as a conference speaker, as a podcast guest, as a project coordinator on an upcoming documentary focusing on the Black autistic community. I think for me, rooting the work experiences and in whose platforms I share, being rooted in doing justice to my communities and giving back to my communities has kept me focused, because if it wasn't for my community, I wouldn't be there. So really leaning on other people, other platforms to speak out, to share the joy, to share the rage, to share, all of the in-between feelings has been very crucial to me. I think even more so now in the threat of what is going on in the reimagining or rewriting of history or of certain experiences, I have found it important to surround myself with community members, friends, people I have business relationships with who share similar values and who are looking to do the work in spite of what is going on. I know people's livelihood have been impacted, funding, things like that. But finding even those small ways to continue to do the work, even if it's just me getting on Instagram and speaking about my experience, or connecting people in my community to other resources, or being a listening ear for someone, or, holding space for people in my community to come and share or, ask questions. I think that has really kept me grounded in what's going on, because I think we've always relied on community, but now in this season of what's going on, I think it's, more important than ever to, my liberation is rooted in the next Black disabled woman's liberation. So seeing this as a community effort and not being so siloed in my efforts has been nice, because I have found so many like-minded people and so many other people doing the work I want to do and continue to do. So that has been like the biggest thing that's been the most helpful for me.
Yeah. You spoke about a documentary. Can you talk a little bit more about that? That sounds really exciting.
Yes, so the documentary is not out yet. We're still in pre-production, but I have been working with a long-term mentor and friend of mine, Tamika Spruce, who has been a disability justice advocate here in Detroit, Michigan, and a documentary filmmaker. And she is working with her co-executive producer, Juliet Romeo, who works with the Slam Dance Film Festival, are working on a documentary called #Autistic Out Loud, which follows the threads of several different Black autistic individuals and their families and caregivers as they navigate the world. So not only are we talking about young children and young adults, but we also have people who were late realized in their 50s and 60s. So really showing the dynamic and the diversity of the spectrum, even within a certain racial demographic. So we recently just wrapped up kind of our pre-promotional informational webinars where we talked about health equity, accesses to service and safety, education and employment. We had a meet the cast. Those are all on the YouTube page, #Autistic Out Loud. They are also on, there's an Instagram page. I was the project coordinator for that. So finding Black autistic voices, parents, caregivers to come and share their experiences. I got to help put that together, which was a really cool project and a dream come true. But definitely, if you're looking to support, they are now in their fundraising stage and, soliciting more stories to kind of build this out since this is such a large project. But once it comes together, I think it'll be something like we've never seen before and something that is so desperately needed, especially in the Black community where there is a lot of misinformation and a lot of stigma and a lot of still working on the autism awareness part in tandem with the autism acceptance. So that's how I spent my spring and summer. It was a great project. Shout out to Tamika and Juliet, great, wonderful advocates to work with, whom I have learned a lot of and whom I'm thankful for. They entrusted their vision and let me execute it for them. So
I want to invite you and some others. I am working with several people from Umbrella ND, AJ Locascio, and formed Autistic Advocates United. It's an autistic and allies grassroots movement. We are talking a lot about changing April to Autistic Advocacy Month to deal with some of the challenges of people trying to find a, quote, autism epidemic and all that right now. And we are looking at trying to help autistics and our allies to actually do some advocacy during that month, rather than just being passively awaiting the next crunch to come. So we're definitely doing some work there. So I'll be happy to give you some information about that, Charlotte. But that sounds very exciting, and I'll be looking forward to hearing how that comes out. That sounds like a fantastic project, and I'm so glad that you're all working on that. I have had a few guests in the past. I don't know if you know who Precious Leslie is. They've been on before, and Shalice Hurd has been on here, and they've been talking a lot about the circumstances around Black autistic people. So that sounds very, very exciting. After this final commercial break, Charlotte will tell us what interdependence means for her, with some online resources that you may be interested in. Today's Autistic Community Bulletin Board will follow.
Hello, autism community. My name is Lisa Morgan. I'm an autistic adult too, and I know firsthand what it feels like to be unintentionally harmed by well-meaning professionals when reaching out for help. My passion is to help autistic people find and use their own unique strengths to help themselves. Are you rule-based, a literal thinker, have a focused interest? Let's figure out together how to use the strengths of autism to find solutions. I offer life coaching for autistic adults and individualized workshops for professionals. To find out more, go to autismcrisissupport.com.
On September 28th, Dr. Adam Hazlitt, an autistic tenured professor of humanities at Henry Ford College, will be here to discuss the concept of autistic joy. Dr. Hazlitt discovered that research shows 94% of autistic individuals find joy integral to their identity. We will explore strategies for finding joy by revisiting past interests and trying new experiences. We will talk about the challenges of finding joy in caregiving situations and the importance of interdependence with the autistic community. Students from Minnesota Independence College and Community will be my guests in October to talk about Disability Employment Month and autistic and ADHD topics. Thank you for listening to today's Autistic Moment. What we're talking about is interdependence here. Interdependence is how we're all interconnected. And it goes along with the idea of there's independence, which is important, and then there's dependence, which is also important, but it's actually important that we find that interdependence, that interconnection, as another word to say it. And this especially goes for a lot of our intersectional communities. One of the things that the autistic advocacy movements and all that is that we need one another. We need to be engaged in this work, with people of color, with white people, with straight, gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender. We all need to pull our stuff together and work together to bring about real systemic change. And that involves some goal setting. What do you have any ideas about what goal setting might be for some good interdependence? What do you think you could add to that?
Yeah, so I think for me, in terms of interdependence, I think is realizing that I don't have all of the answers.
Right.
And that there are people in this community I can rely on. Again, I did not start really this advocacy work this autism advocacy work went until I was 22. And so up until then, like, I knew about autism. I knew people were autistic. I knew it was, it was here. I believed in it. I knew it was a real thing, but I didn't really understand what it looked like to be Black and autistic, or how autism is viewed and seen in my community, or the struggle for accesses, equitable resources, and healthcare and education for autistic people and their families, especially in the Metro Detroit area. So for me, I learned from people who have been doing the work before, special education teachers, IEP non-attorney advocates, the parents of, young children who are having to go, to schools and deal with, teachers that aren't understanding, or, all of that comes with learning as being a parent, having a child, in a community that still autism isn't always recognized or fully understood. So for me, I try to seek out as many opportunities to learn and to educate and to share stories with other people. I think just being very, when I talk on social media, I'm very transparent about my experiences. And I think that's what people seem to enjoy, because I'm not here to lecture anybody about my experience. I'm not here to tell anyone their experience is lesser than mine or not as valuable. But if I can put all my cards on the table and be honest, and someone is willing to do that with me, then I'm like, okay, this is someone I can work with in the future. This is a resource I can share to someone. This is someone I can go to for questions, or when there's certain opportunities for funding or whatever, I can definitely, recommend that person. So for me, interdependence has been a lot of like co-creating spaces and places where Black autistic voices have been uplifted, and also, allowing spaces to be reimagined, or holding spaces for, other Black autistic women. That is the number one demographic I try to uplift in my work, because I don't want another young Black girl to feel the way I felt growing up, to feel out of place, to feel like I'm out of sync with everyone else and not knowing, why, or not understanding myself fully. So that is what I keep in mind, or that there are scores of other young women and girls like me who are going through what I have gone through, or who are going to go through something similar. So if I can co-create within my community and share wisdom, I think that is the biggest thing in goal setting.
That was very well done. Before we close this out, would you once more share with us some of those resources you were talking about? And also, if you don't mind, after we conclude our interview, would you please send those links to me, and I'll add them to my Adult Autism Resources links page?
So for the documentary, hashtag Autistic Out Loud documentary on YouTube, on Instagram. If you want to follow the work of the executive producers, Tamika Chittenden Spruce, she has a website. She's also on LinkedIn, local advocacy legend. She's been my mentor. I worked for her in college. And Juliet Romeo, based out of Miami, Florida, who does a lot of work with the sickle cell community. Both great advocates in their own right. If you want to see the work they're doing, or hear, straight from their voices, I'll send links to their LinkedIn. In terms of the biggest platform for Black autistics, or Black autistic women, Autism in Black, that is actually where I found out about Shalise Hurd. Was at the conference. It would have been last year or the year before, run, founded by Maria Davis Pierre, who is a late diagnosed Black autistic woman, and Lance's marriage and family therapist. So great mix of lived experience and also, clinical background. So they have a conference every year in April. In October, they're hosting their second annual Women and Girls Summit, which is free and virtual. I've had the chance to speak from that. Like I said, it brings parents, educators, IEP advocates, self-advocates. It really brings everyone to the table. And it's a great time for storytelling, for exchanging of information, for resources. Their conference in April is in person in West Palm Beach. It is a very small, intimate group, but it's also streamed virtually. So I would say, if you're looking for like a big resource or a big podcast list, or don't know where to start, I think those two groups are fantastic resources. I've been a part of the Autism in Black Conference. I've been a part of their podcast most recently. So it's an organization that's near and dear to my heart, and that I'm thankful that has allowed me to kind of become the self-advocate I am today.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Well, yeah. Charlotte Batchelor, thank you so much for joining us on today's Autistic Moment. Just repeating, I'm going to make those resources available on the Adult Autism Resources links page. And it's great to know that we are both acquainted with Shalise Hurd, and many others that you will be hearing from. So thank you so much again for sharing this time with us and the amazing information you've given. And we certainly wish you well with your projects because they sound really, really amazing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Did you enjoy my interview with Charlotte Batchelor? Would you like to listen to the complete interview without the music, the first segment, and no ads? Go to todaysautisticmoment.com, create an account, and subscribe to the new ad-free and complete interview plan. The subscription is only $12 a month or $144 for a whole year. You can listen to the shows from July through this and all future episodes. Look for the logo, Today's Autistic Moment ad-free interviews. Today's Autistic Community Bulletin Board. All these events and many others not mentioned here with their links are available on todaysautisticmoment.com/bulletin board. The Adult Coffee Club for Autistic Adults in Minnesota are held on the second Tuesday of every month, weather permitting, at Dogwood Coffee, located at 2700 University Ave West, Suite 100 in St. Paul, Minnesota. The zip code for your GPS is 55114. The adult coffee clubs will begin at 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. on October 14th, December 9th, January 13th, February 10th, March 10th. Understanding Autism virtual classes are offered by the Autism Society of Minnesota. The next classes will be on October 12th, 10 to 11 a.m., November 9th, 12 to 1 p.m., December 14th, 6 to 7 p.m., January 12th, 10 to 11 a.m. Classes are free of charge, but you must register to attend. On Thursday, October 9th, beginning at 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., Beth Pitchford will present a workshop at the Autism Society Minnesota entitled Now and Then, ADHD and Overlapping Neurodivergence. Learn the basics of what ADHD is, as well as the strengths, challenges, and idiosyncrasies of being doubly neurodivergent in this virtual workshop. On December 4th, beginning at 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., there will be a workshop at the Autism Society Minnesota entitled Eating Disorders and Autism, Understanding the Overlap and Supporting Recovery. Go to ausm.org to download the Fall Programs Guide with information about these and other social and recreational programs, educational events, counseling services, and support groups at the Autism Society of Minnesota. Min Neurodivergent is a social club rooted in a vision of bringing neurodivergent Minnesotans together to build meaningful connections. Its core principle is to foster an environment where all are treated with dignity and respect, regardless of ability or preferences. Go to their website, minneurodivergent.org, for more information, become a member, volunteer, and attend their events. Register for MICC's 8th Annual Independence 5K Run 1 Mile Walk on October 4th at Donaldson Park in Richfield, Minnesota. This is more than a race. It's a powerful community gathering to support MICC's mission to educate and guide autistic and neurodivergent adults in creating and sustaining the lives they want to live. From competitive runners to casual walkers, enthusiastic cheerleaders to dedicated volunteers, Everyone plays a vital part in this family-friendly event. Whether you're racing for a personal best or cheering from the sidelines, your involvement helps amplify autistic and neurodivergent voices, foster acceptance, and support lifelong independence. Bring your friends and families, lace up your sneakers, and be part of this most impactful MICC Independence 5K yet. Learn more and sign up at micc.org. Donaldson Park is located at 7434 Humboldt Avenue South, Richfield, Minnesota 55423. Check-in is at 9 a.m. The race begins at 10 a.m. Regular registration is $40, September 6th through October 2nd. Registration on October 4th is $45. Today's Autistic Moment is here because of the generosity of supporters and sponsors. Go to todaysautisticmoment.com and select Support Today's Autistic Moment to donate. If you have questions about today's Autistic Moment, please send an email to todaysautisticmoment@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to Today's Autistic Moment, a podcast for autistic adults. I am an autistic adult. May you have an autistically amazing day. All of the guests meet with me on Zoom to record the interviews. The interview transcripts are provided by Otter. The podcast is prepared and edited on WavePad Masters Edition by NCH Software. The podcast is published by Spotify for Podcasters. The music that you hear is licensed to Today's Autistic Moment by PremiumBeat.com.